for this little review of the starter, I'm going to jump onto the computer here because it will help us see what's happening. So I've plotted the two sequences. So U0 was 5 for question 1, and then you could calculate U1 was 6, U2 was 8, U3 was 12, and I've done that all the way up to U10, which is the one that I asked you to find. So the answer would be U10 is 1028. I've done sequence 2 over here as well, so U0 was 20, U1 was 25, and you can keep going all the way up. Now we can actually see, and this is the thing that I want you to take away from doing this starter, we can actually extend these, and this is the reason I did it on the computer. I can extend these, so let's maybe extend it up to the 50th term, and it's got so big that Excel can't even show it. In fact, over here, the 23rd term is the last one that Excel is able to show at 8,388,612. So with sequence 1, we can see our terms just keep on getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. On the other hand, with sequence 2, if I extend it, I can go all the way up, let's do the 100th term. What's happening here is, as Excel goes down, we can see up to about term 17, Excel's calculating these, getting closer and closer and closer and bigger and bigger and bigger, but approaching 30. And actually, by the time we get to the 18th term, it's so close to 30 that Excel starts to round it. Even if I extend that out a bit, it gets so many 9s that Excel starts to round it to 30. So actually with sequence 2, we can see that it doesn't get bigger and bigger and bigger, it gets closer to a particular number. Now we have important terms for those. Sequence 1, we would say diverges. Its numbers get bigger and bigger and bigger, or they certainly don't go towards one number, one particular number. Whereas in sequence 2, our answers get closer and closer and closer, further down we go, to 30. Now, one last thing I want to show you. Let's change that first term. So in this sequence, let's change the first term to 5. In the second sequence, sorry. Here you can see, even if I change the first term to 5, that sequence still goes to 30. You could pick a different starting number. Let's pick 80. Oh, we started bigger than 30, but our terms are getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until, oh, they're going back towards 30. So no matter what starting number we pick with sequence 2, our terms are still always converging towards 30, no matter what number we start with. Exactly the same how it holds over here. It doesn't matter what number I start with, I could put in a 7 over there in sequence 1, the numbers are always going to get bigger and bigger and bigger without end. So actually, no matter what starting number I choose, sequence 1 is always going to diverge. The terms are always going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. No matter what starting term I choose, sequence 2 is always going to converge. It's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Well, sorry, it's going to get closer and closer and closer to 30. So, there is an important distinction between these two sequences, and the key thing that separates these two sequences is the number that comes in front. So, in front of UN. So in sequence 1 we had a 2 in front of our UN. In sequence 2 we had a 0.5. And actually if that number in front of the UN term is less than 1, our sequence converges. So I'm actually going to post a little slide which you might want to put into your notes as the closing screen for this video, which just summarizes what we've just talked about. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an introduction, and then in this second video of this section I'm going to show you how to actually calculate the limit that a particular sequence goes towards if it converges.